100% at C52, and I'm from Booger Holler.
You really is.
Yeah, a lot of people know Booger Holler. All right, that's going to become important as I talk here for a while. Y'all can look at me and know that I'm a little older than these guys over here. When I was 10 years old, my father had the audacity to plant cotton with 2 mules. Can y'all believe that? Yeah. And I had to pick it. I picked 100 pounds of cotton. It took me about 14 hours to pick 100 pounds of cotton. That was the last cotton I picked, and I'll never pick any more. But I'll tell you what, when I was home life director at Georgia School for the Deaf, and I was interviewing future employees, I'd always ask them, have you picked cotton? They said, yeah, you're hired. You know why? Because I knew those people knew how to work. And and they were the best people I ever hired, were the ones that had worked on a farm and picked cotton. So this is sort of my background here. Daddy only raised cotton 1 year. He was in law enforcement doing this on the side. He decided law enforcement was the way where you need to be. And he was right. We carried that bale of cotton on a wagon all the way to Beaver Slide. Now, does anybody here know where Beaver Slide was? There's a couple people. How about that? Pretty amazing. Paul Smith, remember. Well, I went off to college out in Texas, and I came back home, and I had married Arnold Looney's daughter. H.I. Jones said, oh yeah, he remembered Arnold. Arnold was one of the biggest cotton farmers in this area. Well, number one, my mother-in-law, by the way, that's her grandmother, her mother-in-law had planted 5 acres of tomato while I was off in Texas. So I got home, she said, you need to start picking and selling these tomatoes. Well, that was something for a college boy to do. That was an interesting experience. In the meantime, the first day I stayed at the house, they got me up at 5 o'clock the next morning. And I've been in college for 4 years. I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So what's going on? Oh, the breakfast, the ham, the eggs, everywhere, sausage. And I heard this sound out on the front porch. And it was my father-in-law, Arnold Looney. And it was, y'all know what that sound is?
Sharpening.
Sharpening what, Joe? They were sharpening big chopping holes. Holy Toledo with a file. All right, so we ate that big breakfast. The sun started to peak up, and let's walk down to the cotton patch. Only 50 acres. Only 50 acres. Well, they said, this is your road. You start chopping right here, and you go down there, and then come back. And so, I did that for about 5, 6 hours. My mother-in-law, she passed me 3 times. I was sitting there thinking, man, what is the trick? My hands are hurting, the sun is shining. Well, it's lunchtime. Man, I saw her fixing that lunch. We had that mason jar with the newspaper tied on it and the cold water. It was so good. And then she brought me out that sausage and biscuit. And there's a big old tree. I said, well, I'm going to go over here and sit down under that old tree. No, you're not. You're going to lean on that hoe and eat it right here. And I said, why is that? Because if you sit down under that old tree, you'll never get up. And so that's the way that day went. Is my time up?
Many people have called for reconsideration of some of the various sales tax exemptions allowed in the Georgia law. Do you think farm inputs such as seed, feed, fertilizer, chemicals, and electricity used in poultry houses and farm machinery should be subject to sales tax, or will you stand with Farm Bureau to oppose such a tax increase? 1 minute.
1 minute. All right, guys. Here we go. Of course, I think everybody's been unanimous on this, but people have been stealing my thunder all night. Hey, Gummit Bonnie, you guys, locally grown food is where it's at. We have 2 restaurants right here in this area who sell locally grown food. I love the idea. Many states already have a system where the school cafeterias and hospital cafeterias use locally grown food. If we're going to have these tax exemptions for the big farms, we need to have tax exemptions for the little farms. I know a retired couple right now that's growing food, and they're having a hard time with it. I know young people trying to grow food. We want to create jobs. We need to do something about the regulations that won't let people go out and set up a small farm, and that won't give them the tax exemptions they need so that they can grow produce and vegetables and fruit.
Question number 2. The UGA Cooperative Extension Service is very important to the people of Georgia, but last year there was an ill-advised proposal to gut this important program. Will you stand up for the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension Service, 4-H, and research?
In Bugger Holler, I have a 200-acre farm, and every year when they got ready to send her and her two sisters to college for the next quarter, I'd go sell a couple of cows and pay tuition. So I know how important these things are. I went to Coosa High School. We had a great 4-H program down there that I was involved in. We had the FHA and all those things that were really, really important to us. We need to bring some of those things back. When I garden now, one of the things I do is I go out and I want to check the acidity of my soil. What's the pH value? Without an extension agent, how am I going to do that? You know, we've got to have this. I'd like to bring some things back we used to have where they had canneries that you could take your stuff and can your food and shell it, and people would have food that they knew was wholesome and not the stuff that we're buying from California that when it gets here, tomato sits on your shelf for 6 weeks and won't rot. So it's so full of chemicals. We don't want that. We want to be able to grow this food here. What time did I have? I'm sorry I'm waving this thing.
You got one more shot.
One more shot.
In your view, how important is agriculture in the legislative district you're running for?
Well, again, everybody's answered that. We know how important it is, but what we're going to do is make it more important. We want to bring in more people, especially young people in family farms. We need a 5-acre farm, a 10-acre farm. Y'all may not believe this is my oldest daughter. I've got a son 7. But what I did with my son 7 is I planted this big field of blueberries. Because, you know, you can make about $40,000 a year off of blueberries if you can pick them. Now, when he's about 15 or 20, he can go to college and he'll have that right. You don't have to have a 200-acre farm. But I know what it is to farm. I know what it is to get up in the morning and go chase a cow at 4 a.m. and fix a fence when it's 20 degrees. You know, I've been there. I've done that. We need some more organic things, but we have ways that we can make this happen. We can make the state of Georgia be a leader in this field, locally grown food. Walmart, just in the USA Today, said that they are going to double the amount of locally grown food that they buy. Thank you.